Okay, so the last video showed how to install Avidemux, and now I'm going to show you basically how to use this to bring in a video and make clips from it, or trim it, crop it, whatever you want to call that. Um, Now, I have a bunch of videos here. I'm just going to click Open Video, and you would need to then browse to wherever your videos are stored. In this case, I have some recordings that I made using Skype for Business. So I'll just select one of those, and this is an MP4 file. Um, any standard MP4 file should work perfectly fine in here. If you have an MP4 file that is maybe a movie that you purchased somewhere, like through iTunes or something like that, um, or any media that's been purchased, that's been paid for, that may have some protections applied to it, and that may interfere with you editing it. But if I'm assuming that the video you're working with is something that either you've created, recorded, or downloaded and have some permission to use and edit. Disclaimer, I don't know that that's the case, but I'm assuming it. So I'm going to click open, and it's going to open that up, and this is the video frame. Now, the thing I really like about Avidemux is that if you are a video engineer and you have very specific requirements, you want things, you want your video to be encoded with a specific codec and at a specific bit rate, it'll let you do that. It gives you a lot of control over that. Or if you don't even know what a bit rate or a codec is and you want to just be able to clip down or trim down a video that you have, you can sort of use it in the very simple basic mode, and as long as you make the right selections, it will work perfectly fine for that. So when I talk about making the right selections, we're basically talking about the choices here on the left hand side. There's a video decoder, and by default it's using this lav codec, which I've found to be perfectly fine. If you click configure, you'll see some options here that I'm not even sure what those mean. I don't care, but I'm going to stick with using that decoder. For video output, because this is already an MP4 that's encoded a certain way, I want the output to be encoded the same way. So copy makes perfect sense. However, if you wanted to use something specific here, you could do that. Again, by default it's using copy, but if you have specific requirements, you can choose the right codec for that. Same thing with audio. We're just going to stick with copy because it'll give us, whatever the video output is the same as the video that we're bringing in. Shift would allow you to add a shift, basically a time shift to the audio. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but if you did for some reason, you could do that. And then output format, by default, it's using MKV Muxer. I personally prefer to use the MP4 Muxer because MP4 is sort of the standard video format. MKV is gaining in popularity, but MP4 is still, has been for a while and probably will be for a very long time, the standard for video that you're delivering through the web. If we click continue, we'll see that there are some other choices here. Again, I don't really care what these are. I'm just going to cancel out. I just want to show that there were choices, but so all I've done here, the only change I've made is the output format to select MP4 Muxer. And that's it. Now, the video player here. So basically, these are the controls to play back your video. I can hit play, and it's going to start counting through. And I can scrub through to a specific point in time. And notice when I started scrubbing, it sort of doesn't continue playing. So it knows that I want to scrub to a point and stay there, which is good. Now, the first example I'm going to give is trimming off some part of the beginning. So let's say I want to, this was a session that I recorded, a classroom session that I recorded, but I want to trim off basically the beginning part up until I started talking. So I'm just going to, I can either let that play through, or I can actually go frame by frame by frame if I want, or I can go to the next keyframe. So videos all have keyframes at certain points in time. That's, again, a technical thing that a video engineer would understand, but think of keyframes as sort of using the jump ahead button on your DVR to jump to a specific point in time. So it's more than a frame, but not a big jump. And I believe it's by default it uses keyframes like every 3 keyframes a second or something like that. But I'm just going to jump ahead a bit and just let it play until I get the absolute perfect spot. Notice you can also use the space bar to play and pause if you'd like. Okay, so this is the point where I want to that's where I want to cut it, so I'm basically going to leave it there. And at this point I'm going to set the end marker. No, I'm sorry, set the begin marker, start marker. Confused you a bit there. So basically what that means is that this is going to, the rest of this that's outlined in blue is going to be part of the recording, but that first chunk is going to be left out. The other option is if I set that to the end and then now actually I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back to the way I was started to do this and set that as the end. Alright, so basically now I'm going to be leaving off just that first few minutes of this. And from this point, all I need to do is click Save Video, select where I want to save. Now it's going to append edit. I'm just going to rename this entirely and call it Test Edit 1. And make sure that it has the MP4 extension on there. There were versions, a couple versions ago, they released a version that did not automatically add the file extension and got a little confusing. So make sure it says .mp4 and then click Save. And this encoding will seem like it's going to take a long time, but it will actually go very, very quickly. That's another reason that I really love this program, because it is extraordinarily fast unless it's doing heavy-duty re-encoding. For something like this where we already have a video that's in MP4 format and we're just trimming a piece out of it, it's very quick to do that. So now if I close this and let's say I open up that video that I just created, so I'll open up Test Edit 1, open that, and now we can see that it's starting out exactly where I want it to. Now, that's how we sort of just chopped off the beginning. If I want to take a chunk of this, it's similar, but we're going to use those A and B markers. And I'm going to say I want to start this at the beginning, and I want to grab the first 20 minutes. Now I can, again, drag, or I can use these keyframes, or I can actually even type in a timestamp there, but I'm just going to use the keyframe. So we want the first 20 minutes. So I'm going to set that to B, so that's going to be the end. Now, essentially what's highlighted here is what's going to be saved. So when I save this, and I'm going to call this clip 1. That's nice that it puts the underscore edit at the end, but I'm just going to take that out and say clip 1 and save. And because that was a very small chunk, 20 seconds is almost nothing, it was very quick. And then I can repeat this, so basically now I want to say at this point, set that as the A, and let's go another 20 minutes. Let's go to 40 minutes rather. Set that as the B. And again, we're going to clip 2. And it's at this point, it's pretty much just lather, rinse, and repeat, just to repeat those same process over and over again. If you want to get really fancy, I'm actually going to do another video where I show you how to group, or not group, but basically create a batch list of edits. So, but that's all I wanted to show in this video. I'll do another video with the batch edits, where you can kind of queue up a bunch of clips and then have it just process them. So check back for that in a little bit.